That's why more and more Lagosians are tuning in.
500,000 Lagosians.
720,000.
970,000.
Over 1 million Lagosians, they know that if you give me your afternoon, I will give you hard facts.
Well done, Sandra, all to going beyond the headlines and focus on the facts.
I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
First hard fact of the day. 43 new COVID confirmations. That's what we had yesterday. It's more cases than Tuesday. It's just one less case than last week, Wednesday. We had new cases in 6 states, and Lagos was number 1, followed by Rivers. So it's a reminder for you to still keep doing the things you need to do to stay safe. It's still not safe, so you have to limit your movement, wear a mask whenever you are out and about or around people. And you have to give gap as well. Keep your distance, wash your hands, sanitize your hands. You know, yesterday on the show, I talked about the $2.5 billion that the 4th mainland bridge will cost. Well, I talked about it on the news, not on the main show itself, right? You remember that? You remember that conversation we had? Well, it wasn't a conversation, it was on the news. Anyways, that's my second hard fact for today. The 4th mainland bridge is going to cost $2.5 billion, according to the Lagos state government. We heard this from the Director General of the Lagos State Office for Public-Private Partnership, Okwe George. He also said that the winning bid for the project will be selected in October from 6 bidders. Now, I promise you that Hard Facts will be keeping a close watch on that process. That's because I know that you're going to want to know the terms of the deal. Will there be a toll? What will the cost recovery be? The cost recovery period, what will that be? All these questions that you've had about the Lekki Ekpe Expressway and the Lekki Ikoyi bridge tolling, we will make sure that we have it, on record this time around. Those projects happened before Sandra came to Lagos, but now I'm here, so I'm going to be keeping watch on this one like a hawk. Third hard fact of the day, Ben Ayade joins the APC. The Cross River governor. He announced his defection from the PDP today. It's the first time in the 4th Republic that the State House Calabar is not in PDP hands. Ayade has only 2 years left in his term, and he's been at odds with the PDP over the choice of a successor, among other issues. And so he's defected. He's in the APC now. Now, 1 million Lagosians listen to this show, and they cannot be wrong. They come here for hard facts, starting with the big 3. Let's talk about the AGF comparing open grazing to spare parts dealing. Then let's talk about the Kaduna baby whose parents say was not taken off oxygen by nurses. You remember that lady who called us yesterday and who talked about the nurses and, told them to put life first. How could they have taken a baby out of oxygen and the parents had to take the baby and go somewhere else? Well, how could they have done that? Well, the parents of the baby came out now and they are on video saying this did not happen. I'm going to play that video for you. It kind of reminds you of the people who were talking about NSAS protesters when they were blocking Lekki Tollgate. And everybody who had something negative to say about the blockade of the tollgate kept talking about this pregnant woman. A pregnant woman that we never saw, never met, never heard from. But all of them kept talking about it. Very similar, isn't it? Yeah. Anyways, we're also going to talk about the security situation nationwide. That's our third story on today's Big 3. Now, remember, you can talk to me on Facebook and Twitter. We don't have WhatsApp today, so any message you have to share with me, go share on our live stream on Facebook. Facebook Nigeria Info 99.3, Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. Because it's Thursday, we're going to bring you League of Extraordinary Nigerians. After that, we'll bring you Eyewitness. On the big hard fact, let's talk about INEC deregistering political parties. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled against a group of parties who took INEC to court. I'm going to have the chairman of the Youth Party, Tomiwa. His party is not one of the parties that lost at the Supreme Court. In fact, they just beat INEC at the appeal court. So we're going to be talking about this deregistration issue. We're also going to talk about other challenges facing third parties as they try to get on the ballot, as they try to stay on the ballot, and as they try to get your vote. So pay attention to that conversation today, happening at 5 o'clock. Now, of course, news updates will come your way at the top of every hour. If you want to win on just a minute on this show, you need to listen to every single thing that I say, because that's how you win. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, Lagos, and these are your hard facts.
This is the Big Three.
The Big Three on Hard Facts.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, Lagos, let's talk. Is open grazing the same as spare parts dealing? Open grazing, is it the same as spare parts dealing? That's my first question. Will El-Rufai honor the calls to negotiate with the NLC? That story is still ongoing. And why is the acting IGP telling police to ignore human rights appeals? Those are the big three, Lagos. Let's talk. Abubakar Malami, the Attorney General, was on a TV interview last night. And he says that a ban on open grazing would be unconstitutional. That's our first story. If you're watching us right now on Facebook, I'm about to play a video of where he said certain things during an interview. But if you cannot watch, I'll play the audio for you. He was asked about what he thought about the southern governors agreeing to ban open grazing in their 17 states. And here's what he said.
Well, it's about constitutionality within the context of the freedoms expressed in our constitution, enshrined in our constitution. Can you deny a right of a Nigerian? For example, it's as good as saying, perhaps maybe the northern governors coming together to say that they prohibit spare parts trading in the north. Does it hold water? Does it hold water for a northern governor to come and state expressly that he now prohibits spare parts trading in the north?
Attorney General Malami speaking there. So his argument is based on 2 points. First, that open grazing is covered under right to freedom of movement in the Constitution. That's his argument. His second argument is that a ban on open grazing is exactly the same thing as a ban on spare parts trading. And so if you think the latter is unacceptable, then the former should also be unacceptable. So let's look at these points objectively, shall we? Is open grazing covered by freedom of movement? Is open grazing the same as spare parts trading? The first thing you do when you have a question like that before you is look at what the Constitution says. What does the Constitution say about freedom of movement? Let me read you Article 40, subsection 1. It says, quote, "Every citizen of Nigeria is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria and to reside in any part thereof, and no citizen of Nigeria shall be expelled from Nigeria or refused entry thereto or exit therefrom." End quote. So the question you now ask, does subsection 1 give that right to animals like cattle? Or does it give it to just humans? Are the southern governors trying to stop human beings from moving? Or are they trying to stop human beings from moving cattle in a dangerous way? Now let's move on from the Constitution. Let's go to the Land Use Act. Section 1 says, quote, "All land comprised in the territory of each state in the Federation are hereby vested in the governor of that state." End quote. So basically, governors have complete control over all land in their states. Now, you can argue, oh, that's not how it's supposed to be. We've all been talking about, changing that, amending that, doing away with that. Well, we've not done away with it yet. That's how it currently is. And then we also have laws like the forestry laws, which spell out that governors control the forests in their states. Now, this control is total unless the governor has granted a CFO or some other permit. So, if governors have complete control over land in their state, as per the Land Use Act, is it within their rights to ban open grazing on those lands, just like they ban trucks on certain roads? Or is it unconstitutional? Are you still with me? Are you still with me? Stay with me. Okay. Let's move on to Malami's second point, that a ban on open grazing is as untenable under the law as a ban on spare parts trading. First of all, let me ask, what's the basis for the ban? The governors say they're banning open grazing because it is what is causing the violent clashes between herders and farmers in their states. The governors claim that some herders are trespassing on farmers' lands to graze their cows. And when the farmers resist, the herders bring in militias to fight them. Assuming that this is true, is this also happening with spare parts traders? If it were happening, if spare parts traders were forcing their way into people's houses to use their houses as shops without paying and using militias to do so, would governors be justified in banning spare parts dealing in other people's houses? Is that what spare parts dealers are doing today? Let me put it another way. Look at it another way. Is spare parts dealing the same thing as grazing cattle? Or is selling spare parts the same thing as selling cattle? Because grazing is not the actual commercial activity. The commercial activity there is selling cows. Have the southern governors banned selling cows? I guess what I'm asking is, did the Attorney General draw the right analogy? Is banning open grazing really the same as banning spare parts dealing? What about banning the sale and consumption of alcohol? A lot of state governments have done that. And that's a commercial activity. They decided selling alcohol is wrong and they banned it. Do you think, based on the Attorney General's opinion in that interview, that he agrees or disagrees with a ban on the sale of alcohol? And if he disagrees with it, should the federal government sue the state governments for violating the Constitution by banning alcohol sales? And now you have Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State responding. He is the chairman of the Southern Governors Forum. And he said that they will not change their mind about open grazing and that the AGF can go to court if he wants them to. He said that no reasonable mind would compare spare parts trading, which he says is legitimate and peaceful, to the type of open grazing in Nigeria, which the governor says is, quote, injurious to the harmonious relationship between herders, farmers, and the local populace, end quote. Lagos, let's talk. Women, call me on 014657190. 014657190. Men, call me on 0700-993-993. Do you accept the AGF's position that banning open grazing is unconstitutional? Does the constitutional right to freedom of movement apply to cattle, or is it just humans? Is the anti-grazing directive, the anti-open grazing directive, is it a ban on human movement or just on cow movement? Does the Land Use Act, by giving governors power over all land in their state, give them the power to ban open grazing on that land? Is open grazing the same thing as spare parts dealing? What do you think about Akeredolu's response? Again, women, call me on 014657190. Men, call me on 0700-993-993. Adania is in transit. Adania, welcome.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Okay. Please, I don't understand why we have to split politics with everything. Why would the Attorney General come out and say that spare part trading is the same thing as ban on open grazing? The ban the law is not on cows. Is not movement on cows, but movement for humans. You are free to move anywhere in the country without restriction. If you want to farm, you go and get a space and farm. If you want to transport your cow or your animal, you put them in a truck and move them to where you want to trade. Trading is not the same thing. You don't have to live in the forest. We live in houses so that you can identify who you're staying with. Hello?
I'm here. I'm listening.
So if we're going to keep living in forests, we don't even know who our neighbors are. If something is wrong with you, you can't identify this is where what happened to me came from. So why do we have to hide? Why would a learned person, the Attorney General of the Federation, come out to be playing politics with human lives? Does that justify his position? I don't understand what we're doing here. We should be looking for things that will unite us, not things that will divide us. If we're not selfish, if we're learned, if we are Nigerians, if we say one Nigeria, Nigeria we hail thee. What do we actually listen when we recite the national pledge or the national anthem? Are we upholding that? Can we truly say God bless Nigeria? When we utter certain things, what does that make of us? Does it show who we are and the love we have for our country? How long do we continue to have people die over cows? Does it make sense? We should find a solution. If the solution is for people to farm like normal farms in open quadrangles, why not have human life which is sacred be sacred? Is a cow's life sacred or more sacred than a human life? How do we compare such things? How do we compare spare parts? Do we force the northerners to give their houses or their shops? Do we hold the gun to their heads and say you must release your shop? I don't understand. I really don't understand. There's no reason for comparison.
Adania, thank you very much for calling. We've got Ike in Ajegunle. Ike, welcome.
Hi, Sandra. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Wow, Nigeria. How did we get here? You know, it baffles me when a leader, even children in primary school will not reason this way. A whole Attorney General of a nation reasoning this way. You know, from your analysis earlier on, you talked about buying alcohol and all that. The same people that ban alcohol, when they do federal allocation, I know how much tax Nigerian breweries, Guinness, and other makers of beverage and alcoholic drinks in this country contribute to national revenue. This same state governor, they share from this revenue. Is this not hypocrisy? Sandra, where is common sense in all these things? Common sense is not common, though. You know, I laugh when I hear something that somebody will come out and compare selling of spare parts and headers carrying, brandishing AK-47, raping women, maiming, claiming communities, destroying people's crop. People that sell spare parts, Sandra, they pay for their shop, they pay for tax, they pay their. They don't kill anybody, they don't rape anybody, they don't carry AK-47, and a whole Attorney General of a nation is coming out to speak this way. Sandra, where did you offend in this country now, Sandra? Who offend? How did we get here? And this is how everything in this country trickles down like this. If a whole Attorney General can come out and reason like this, I don't know. God should save this country, Sandra. God should save us.
Ike Najegunle, thank you very much for calling. Jacob Ego says, open grazing is backward. Spare parts dealers rent shops and stay in their shops. Herdsmen should rent a space and be restricted to their farms. All right. Now, remember, I said I don't have access to my WhatsApp. So if you want to send me a message, please send it via Facebook. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. We've got Mary on the line. Mary's in Ajah. Mary's a first-time caller. Mary, welcome today.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
please, I don't want to be insultive. I don't know why people in that end don't think. Why they think from their head.
No, you can't say people in that end. You can talk about the person who said the things he said. Because again, we have to be careful how we talk about these things. The way we talk about it will paint group guilt, and it's the entire group isn't guilty. It's one man who said something. So talk about the man who said the thing.
Okay, the man who said something, I don't know where he thinks from. How can he compare spare part with cow? If spare part people going around in the bush, in the farm, causing trouble, when next is talking, he should think well before he talks. Bye-bye.
All right, Mary. Bye-bye. We've got more people who are sending us messages. Let me go to Facebook very quickly because we have to take a break, so I can't take any more calls just yet. But not to worry, as soon as the break is over, you can keep the calls coming. Oguntu Asefemi Adeni says, the opinion of the AGF, to say the very least, is unfortunate. It speaks volumes about the mindset of the AGF. What is the relationship between herdsmen that are roaming about and in the course destroying other people's belongings, including farmlands, in the name of grazing their cattle, and a spare parts dealer that has a specific location for her business? After all, nobody has said that herdsmen should not move freely, but they cannot graze their cattle in any open space. I think the AGF should be able to comprehend this simple resolution. Babatunde Fasanya says, how can an open-minded and discerning mind say what Mr. Malami said? Grazing on someone's property is trespassing. Simple. And the most heartbreaking part is comparing spare parts to grazing with cattle. Sandra, I'm embarrassed discussing cattle. It's demeaning. It's really pathetic. All right. Omoli says, Sandra, about the government jumping. No. Okay, that's not something on the big three today, but thank you very much for your message. We've got a Dozier Henry who says, I thought these our leaders were educated. It's a shame. Grazing and spare parts? Adewale Adewumi says, it's a big show of shame, a very uncultured reasoning. In fact, it was even better he said it's based on his personal opinion and not comparing it according to the Constitution. Adewale Adewumi, thank you for your message. Lagos, we just started on the big three. Our second story will take us to Kaduna, where interesting things are happening as well. I recommend you stick around so you don't miss it. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment. The best of talk radio to start your day. The Morning Crossfire with Sheriff Quadri.
It is government silence and the silence on the part of the rest of us that have fueled all of this insecurity. Even from Lagos to Ibadan now, you need the blood of Jesus.
This thing is a political game. Jordan Barras, and the rest. The men of their wives are widows. They have been paid 60,000, 100,000 years. Today I have not paid my children's school fees. Even in our group chat, if you say anything about your boss or you complain, they will block you and remove from you. Because I've seen the truth.
The Morning Crossfire with Sheriff Quadri. Weekdays 5 to 9 a.m. on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
My car was parked in front of my house and was vandalized. My neighbor said he actually looked through the window and saw the people taking out stuff from my car. He said he couldn't have me and his room is opposite mine.
Imagine that.
Let's talk.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. Our second story is the latest on the NLC strike in Kaduna. Now, 2 days ago, when Governor El-Rufai sacked the nurses for joining the strike, he said that 3 nurses were going to be prosecuted for removing a baby from oxygen in a hospital, which led to the baby dying. But now, NTA has interviewed the father of the baby. And here's what the father of the baby had to say. If you're watching on Facebook, we're about to play that video for you. But if you cannot watch, you can listen.
Even then, the oxygen was not in her mouth. Yes, because they said that she's okay at that moment. She was stable. Yes, she was stable at that moment. So I'm telling you, the nurse have even tried, because we are the one that emphasize on we have to carry our baby to another hospital. So it is not her fault.
So there you have the father saying that the baby was no longer in danger when it happened, that the baby was still alive. Now, like I told you earlier on, we had a caller who brought up El-Rufai's statement. I didn't cover it because Nigeria Info's fact checkers were still working to confirm that that statement was accurate. Now, I just want you to know, Lagos, it doesn't matter who says something. I always check it before I call it a fact. You can bank on that. Well, back to the strike. The NLC suspended the strike to honor the federal government's offer to negotiate. So now we're expecting to see a sit-down between the Kaduna state government and the labor unions, mediated probably by the labor minister, Grazing, right? And you have people asking, will Governor El-Rufai accept those negotiations? Yesterday, he told his fellow governors that he would not. He said, quote, "We will fight this. We are breaking them and they will leave town ashamed. I will not give them 1 inch because this is not about unionism," end quote. He also said that the standoff with the labor unions is a battle for the survival of state governments. And he warned his colleagues that their own states would be next. In fact, he accused them of not standing with him. The Punch has him saying, quote, "I am a governor. I am one of you. The least I expect from the Nigerian Governors Forum is unequivocal and unqualified support. I didn't see that in that statement," end quote. But perhaps his biggest bombshell was when he said one of his fellow governors paid the NLC to conduct the strike. He didn't say who though, but he said it. Now, the governors discussed another issue which El-Rufai also framed as a battle with the NLC for the survival of government. They discussed fuel subsidy. Governors are backing a proposal to scrap the subsidy completely. They are saying that most of the subsidized petrol ends up going to neighboring countries. So it doesn't make sense for government to keep paying the subsidy, especially since it is eating into the federal allocation. In fact, El-Rufai repeated the NNPC's claim that this month it may end up remitting 0 naira to the federation. And he blames the trade unions for the situation. He said, quote, "Even though we all supported deregulation of petroleum products prices last year, this agreement was suspended by the federal government because of a threat of industrial action by unions. This is the root of the problem, and now we're back to losing between 70 billion naira to 210 billion naira per month," end quote. So in both the fuel subsidy situation and the civil service downsizing situation, El-Rufai's position is the same. He believes government must make deep spending cuts. If not, state, federal and local governments will not have enough federal allocation to do the actual work. And the trade unions are the main force stopping government from doing this. That's what El-Rufai believes. So basically, he believes that if left unchecked, trade unions will stop government from doing the needful until it's too late. Now, on the other side, the trade unions are saying that they won't accept these cuts because of the effects on citizens. Downsizing will put thousands of civil servants out of work. Reducing or removing the subsidy will raise the pump price for everybody. So obviously, we know that both sides cannot have their way 100% at the same time. And when you talk to most policy analysts or economists, they tell you that both sides have a point. It's a question of short-term versus long-term pain. Government is saying, let's suffer these job cuts and these fuel price hikes today so that we can avoid going bankrupt tomorrow. While the NLC is saying, we won't have a tomorrow if people starve today. So how do you navigate this? If you were governor, if you were government, how do you navigate this? Is there a compromise that can protect both the short-term and the long-term fiscal situation for a government, while also protecting the short and long-term economic situation for citizens? 01465-7190. That's the number that women should call me on. 01465-7190. Men call me on 0700-993-993-993. Yes, you can still talk about the first story with the Attorney General of the Federation speaking on this ban on open grazing. And of course, we don't have WhatsApp available right now, so get on Facebook. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. Nigeria Info 99.3. We've got somebody on the line, but I don't know what's happening with Esther today. 99.3, hello.
Hello.
How are you? What's your name, sir?
I'm fine. My name is Agwoma.
Agwoma, welcome.
You have already kept me on the line sometime.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah. So, talking about the comment of the Attorney General, I don't want Nigerians to be disappointed from the utterances he has made. If we trace back, he is a trained Islamic scholar. And by the time he was being appointed, we had issue with his certificate. And having said this, up to now, he could not present his certificate. He said they were eaten by termites. Are you hearing me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the certificate was eaten by ferocious termites. And so we are still doubtful of his credentials. So when he said this, I will advise Nigerians not to be disappointed. We wouldn't have expected anything better. And so let's bear with him. Let's understand too. But my problem is there are so many of his type, they pattern me in this administration. And whatever we are going to do, they are focused in destroying this nation. And it's such a pity. And we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agoma, for calling. Let's talk to Kayode in Ikotun. Hello, Kayode. How are you?
Hello?
How are you, Kayode? Welcome.
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sandra, the thing is this. What these guys talk, I don't know if they think we can really read in between the lines. Do you understand? We have a situation where it is not. People, the governors declare what they want. Alcohol is not allowed in the north. Is able to do anything about it. In fact, it's even an injustice that even though alcohol is not allowed in the north, the proceeds of alcohol, which is available in the south, is shared as income between all these states. And then you're telling us that you're not comparing cattle rearing. These guys in the first place, they absolutely nothing, contribute absolutely nothing to run the government of the country. At what point do we tax this guy? Why should it even be our business in the first place to take care of these guys? There are a lot of questions that we'll keep asking, that why is it even special? Why do we even have to discuss this? Then you have an attorney general coming on board to say it's a constitutional issue. When the cows, I don't know whether cows were mentioned in the constitution in any way.
No, they weren't.
I don't understand. So what is going on? And our journalists too. When I say our journalists, I know you're separate because I know their seat is always hot when they talk to you. Why lot of journalists allow these guys to come and get away with all this kind of statements? It's like you don't carry out research before talking to these politicians, and they allow them to come and get away with.
All right, Kayode. Thank you very much for calling. Shade is in Ikeja. Hello, Shade.
Hi, Sandra. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes. So the second topic you have, it seems like, it is a devil and the deep blue sea kind of situation. And I just think, it's hard, but if they let go of the civil servants in Kaduna, and also remove the subsidy, would we be anywhere better? Like, is there a guarantee it's going to be better for us? That's the thing, you know. And I always keep saying, like, there's no guarantee that things will get better, because next thing they'll take another, okay, so that money is no more there, but we still don't have money. Because it seems like the money in the federal government is like a spirit. It just always seems to not be enough and just disappears, and then we borrow more and more. So, the point is, if they do these two things, are we going to be better off? They don't seem to give us a guarantee that we would be better off after these two actions are done. So, I mean, I'm of the opinion subsidy removed. And I don't think we should start with the civil servants in Kaduna, although Kaduna governor is stuck on that. But we are where we are, and if we have to choose between them, I think we should remove subsidy and leave the civil servants where they are. That's my opinion.
Shade, thank you very much for calling. By the way, the PDP has called on the Kaduna government to reinstate all retrenched civil servants. The NUR, the National Union of Railway Workers, they've also warned that they will shut down the railways nationwide if there's another attack on workers in Kaduna. So, yeah, things are getting pretty hot in that state. Now, like I said, when we're talking about the second story, I don't think this is a black and white situation, but maybe you disagree. How can a balance be struck? If you don't think that we can have a balance, which position should we go for? Shade says, remove subsidy, but leave the jobs of the civil servants. So are you aligning with what Shade has said? Should we go for deep cuts like the governors want, or should we go with putting all available money into maintaining subsidies and the public workforce as is? You have to bear in mind that because of how large the civil service is, salaries are being owed regularly, and the excuse that the governors often give for why they're owing salaries is, well, they're not making enough money in revenue. That's why they want to cut down the size of government. That's El-Rufai's argument, at least. And also, what do you think about El-Rufai's criticisms of the NLC and his fellow governors for not backing him up? We've got Paul in Lekki. He's not there anymore, but we'll take a final call and then move on to our final story. Hello, thank you for calling us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
My name is Chidima.
Welcome, Chidima. Go ahead.
Okay, so Sandra, the problem is that the whole system is wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, because you see, you are trying to cut down on subsidy. Yes, they should cut down on it. Yes, but start from cutting down on everything. Truly, the civil service is too big. Like, so if you go to an office, there are 5 people and they're not doing anything. So they should cut down on everything and use the money to do factories. There are industries. There were factories in this country years back that are no more here. They have now become a trading country. Everybody is selling something. Do you get? So if they cut down on the civil service and those people go into factories, they cut down even on the politicians, why would we have all those people in the Senate? What are they doing? Do you understand? So the whole system, you cannot just come and start cutting out people that are working. No, cut down everybody so that we know you are serious.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling. Now, there's a lot going on in the security space, and for our third story, we're going to look at all of it. First, we are getting unconfirmed reports about the death of Abubakar Shekau, Boko Haram's leader, at the hands of ISWAP. Humangle is carrying the story, but we're waiting to get a clearer confirmation. Because remember, we've seen Shekau declared dead many times before, so we're waiting for confirmation of this. We hear that he blew himself up, committed suicide. Meanwhile, 6 INEC offices have been burned down this month. 6 of them. 2 in Enugu, including the state headquarters, 2 in Ebonyi, 1 in Abia, and 1 in Akwa Ibom. In the last 2 years, more than 20 INEC offices have been burned. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, says that it's an orchestrated attack to stop INEC from conducting the 2023 elections. By the way, by 5 p.m. today, we're going to talk about INEC and political parties on the Big Hard Fact. So don't miss that conversation, right? But back to Yakubu. He's meeting with the police and other security agencies to figure out how to protect the commission. So what's the police doing about it? Police says, well, first of all, we have to figure out how to protect ourselves first, because police stations are also getting burned in different states. Although most of the cases so far are in the southeast, the Punch has counted 25 different attacks on police in the last 5 months, leading to 127 murdered officers. Terrible numbers. Now, the police have launched a new operation which they say is aimed at restoring peace, restoring order, restoring security in the southeast and in the south-south. They are calling it Operation Restore Peace. The acting Inspector General, Usman Baba, launched the operation this week. And here's what he said to the officers in Enugu on Tuesday. He said, quote, "Don't mind the media shout. Do the job I command you. If anyone accuses you of human rights violation, the report will come to my table and you will know what I will do. So take the battle to them wherever they are and kill them all. Don't wait for an order." End quote. Yes, you heard me. The acting Inspector General of Police just told his officers not to worry about abuse of human rights or abuse accusations. Now, Lagos, I have to ask you, should a police chief ever tell his officers to ignore human rights? That's my first question. Should a police chief ever tell his officers to ignore human rights? Meanwhile, Nyesom Wike says the security situation is bad because government only ever pays lip service to it. The Rivers governor, he said, quote, "We budget for things that don't matter. This is because we have not taken security issues seriously. Security is not only about purchasing equipment, there's training of personnel and good intelligence," end quote. Now, it's interesting that he said that because if you remember last week, Monday, on the Big Hard Fact, I was talking about the budget with Shewan Igbinde of Budget. And we talked about how much money goes into the security vote. In the last 6 years, the federal government has spent 10 trillion naira on security votes. Add to that the money spent by state governments, and you have to ask, how is it possible that after all that money, we still have the problems of training and intelligence that Wike mentioned? Now, the problem with a poor security infrastructure is that the citizens end up fending for themselves. We've been seeing so many school kidnappings in the Northwest and the North Central, and some of the time we've heard the parents say that they've had to raise money for ransoms. Well, now they could go to jail for that if the Senate has its way. A bill passed second reading in the Red Chamber yesterday to make paying a ransom a crime, punishable by 15 years in prison. Can you imagine that? I want to know what you think about that. Do you think that government should criminalize people paying ransoms to bring their loved ones home? The idea is that it encourages terrorism and undermines government's attempts to rescue the victims. Now, I've heard people who oppose the bill and who have said people are forced to pay ransom because government too often cannot rescue the victims. So they're asking why the same government that allegedly cannot protect citizens now wants to punish those same citizens for being victimized. Women, call me on 01465-7190. 01465-7190. Men, call me on 0700-993-993-993. 0700-993-993-993. We've got Kofo in transit. Hello, Kofo. Thank you very much for calling us.
Hello, Sandra. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I actually want to talk on the security issue. Have you and the chief that told the staff to the police people not to, take heed of the human rights? Do you know that right now, as we speak, just this morning, in Ojota, I saw some guys robbing.
Oh.
Do you understand? And I was right there, and I was looking and praying that they don't come to me. Do you understand? And do you know that? Do you also know that on Admiralty Way now it's been trending that there are first people carrying guns and trying to maybe they are high profile kidnappers. I do not know. Do you understand? So I'm kind of worried about our security issues. Please, Sandra, I don't really know what can be done. What can be done? Nigeria is no longer safe for anybody.
But do you think there's a way to tackle the security issues while respecting human rights? While not abusing human rights?
Guns around. Maybe all of us should be carrying guns around.
How does that solve the human rights problem?
I really do not. I'm confused at this state.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling, Kofo. We've got Ayo in Ikorodu. Ayo is a first-time caller. Ayo, how are you?
I'm good.
Welcome.
Well done, ma.
Thank you. You're live on the show. You're talking to Sandra now. Go ahead.
All right. I just want to talk about the bill, the new bill about the ransom. Like seriously, for someone to know the responsibility of a particular nation, the laws that are made in such a land must prospect that. And that is why we see Nigeria of today, that the Nigeria government failed to take the responsibility of what they fought for. And they are making the laws against the masses. For someone who they kidnap the family, of which it is on the fourth side that government failed to protect them. Now, it's the same this government that made the law against such a citizen. So definitely Nigeria has failed as a nation. So for us now to say we don't want Nigerian as a nation, I think someone is right. Either it is Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo, whatever. Let's end this Nigeria.
No. I beg. No, please. You will not say that on this show. Thank you very much. By the way, I should mention that on Monday at 5 o'clock, we're going to be talking about civil service reform. Because, I'm staying on the point that Shade raised when she called, right? And she said something that I've been mulling about in my head. Is there a guarantee that these cuts will make things better? So all of that we will talk about on Monday, 5 o'clock. We'll have a conversation about civil service reform. And we've got great conversations lined up next week. So you don't want to miss hard facts. You have to set a reminder. And the good thing is you can listen online. You can listen wherever you are. Download our app or on any of your app stores. Or you can simply go to www.nigeriainfo.fm and listen. Now, we don't have WhatsApp today available, but Facebook is available and you can definitely leave your thoughts there. We've got so many comments. My God, so many comments. Okay, I'm going to try as much as possible to take as many of them as I can just before we go on a break. We're supposed to go off on a break in about 2 minutes, right? So let's see the comments that we can take. We've got YOLO JJ Elokumo who says, Sandra, our leaders are confused. Jacobs Femi says, this same El-Rufai was against the removal of subsidy during Jonathan. Well, they should sell one refinery to fix the others. As for the man comparing cows with spare parts, if termites has eaten his certificate, they should... Okay, all right then. We're not going to take that comment. People should be trying now. These comments people are leaving on the online. Be trying for me now. Joe. Elegant Chi says, no wahala. Soon he'll find another constitution he'll configure to cover up the massive waste of lives by these herders in the south. We've got Nasir Omar who says, such a view from the AG just confirms a misrepresentation of the vast majority of brilliant Nigerians I get to meet and see every day. Okay. Mrs. Presenter, I'm saying this categorically that if we have the proper representations of Nigerians in the leadership of this country, we would have landed on Mars by now, just like the US and China. Nasiru Omar, thank you very much for your message. Ezeko Isaac says, where is the human right since the attack and killing of policemen in the southeast was getting worse? Usman Samuel says, open grazing is evil in 2021. We've got Ayo Adeniji who says, Sandra, don't you think it's an insult for you to bring a statement from... Okay. We've got Maxwell Ochisifai who says, how can the IG compare spare parts dealing where they rent their shops and buy lands that they use for their business to herdsmen who come to our lands uninvited, destroy farms, kill and kidnap people? We say no to open grazing. All right, so many more messages to get to, but I'm not sure we can get to just all of them just yet. We need to take a break, but when we come back, I'll take 2 calls and then we have to switch gears. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Nigeria Info.
My people, how far? See, if any kind person say you want the coded password for your bank app, I be your PIN, your card PIN, I be the theory number where they back of your card, your pay ID, I be the answer.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.